Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you at the moment from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. But in just a moment, through the magic of technology, we'll be transporting you to the Village of Schaumburg, right outside of Chicago, to experience all the fun and excitement and enlightenment we experienced at Kids Expo Chicago. Before we transport you out to beautiful Schaumburg, Illinois, we want to let you know that this episode of the podcast is brought to you in part by Books. Books combines the love, the trust, and the safety of children's books with the convenience of online streaming for a whole new way to experience stories with their growing library of animated storybooks that both kids and parents will love. By adding movement, sound, and narration to existing books, Books bring stories to life. They really are alive, encouraging the love of reading while promoting literacy, imagination, and focus for children 2 to 8 years old. With Books, children can learn, laugh, and let their imagination soar, while parents can feel good about letting their little ones enjoy quality, guilt-free screen time. Right now, and this is amazing. Right now, Books is offering a free 1-year subscription to every single teacher and homeschooling parent. Amazing! My wife signed up for this the minute I let her know about it. She loves it. You gotta check it out. Books also offers free resources that go along with some of their most beloved titles. To learn more, go to Books.com. That's VOOKS.com. Books.com. Okay, we're here at Kids Expo in Schaumburg, Illinois. We just came off the stage. My voice is a little bit tired, but we're having a great time. And I ran into a friend of the podcast, Farhan Khalid, author of Bilal and the Big Bully, is here. Farhan, how are you?
I'm good, Jed. Thanks for having me on again.
How are you loving Kids Expo?
It's good. Thankfully, it's local for me, so it's an easy drive here, and so far, so good. My son's having a lot of fun here.
Excellent, excellent. Tell me, remind everybody again about Bilal and the Big Bully. We're going to be featuring it as a storytime episode, and we're excited about that, but remind everybody the story.
Sure. So Bilal and the Big Bully is the first children's book I wrote. It kind of came out of a challenge where someone said I should write a kid's book after I had written a nonfiction book. So I took up the challenge, and thankfully it worked out pretty smoothly. So it's about a boy who starts at a new school. There's a bully there who likes to eat other kids' lunches, and the main character, Bilal, learns to handle it in a way that's without fighting or without getting into an argument. He uses his wisdom and intellect to deal with this bully.
That's why we selected it to be part of our Storytime series, because it really is a thoughtful way to deal with the issue of bullying. And I think it's something that's very empowering to kids. And it also talks about the other kids kind of supporting Bilal too.
Yeah, exactly. And I tried to bring some diversity into it. So it's something I hope that kids not only enjoy the story, but that they learn from it and they're able to take away some of that experience and apply it to their own lives, because in life we're all going to face conflicts, we're going to face people who are difficult, so we just have to learn how to deal with them in a way that's respectful and nonviolent.
Yeah, and the other things kids are going to encounter are folks from different religions and different cultures, and that's something too that we talk about in Bilal and the Big Bully.
Yeah. So like I said, I do try to bring some diversity into it. So in this story, the boy Bilal is actually in the month of Ramadan where he's fasting. So they're able to learn about what fasting is and how different cultures do different things. So I hope also just culturally it's kind of a good experience for kids to learn about different cultures and get interested, because really it just makes the world much more interesting.
Absolutely. Now, yeah, I met your son really briefly, but there's so many fun things going on here. He said, now you guys are boring, so he's off doing something fun. What kind of books do you love to read with your son?
Yeah, so we read a lot. So we started off with rhyming books, things like Goodnight Moon and the Going to Bed book by Sandra Borton. So he likes those. But lately he's getting more into Peppa Pig books and Pete the Cat.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What, as a dad, what do you get out of reading to your son?
Yeah, and that's a great question. One, I love reading to him because I feel like at the end of the day I'm done with work, I can kind of relax, and it's our special time together. So we'll, just lay down in the bed, relax, read through 3, 4, 5 books, however many he wants to do. And it's just, aside from being relaxing, I also know it's beneficial for him, seeing the pictures, seeing the words, hearing all these different words, and it helps him also then, he's starting to repeat things a lot, so whatever we read to him, he's able to start repeating. Mm-hmm. So it's good linguistically as well, phonetically. Just a really good experience and a good bonding time. Can't really think of any negatives.
Yeah, that to me is that bonding time. Mm-hmm. I think is so important, and it's true. You come home from a hard day at work. I remember driving home when I'd be doing a show in Philadelphia, and I'd drive home and get home at 7:30 at night, and it's like I'm exhausted, but like you said, lie down in the bed, pick up a book, and it just kind of recharges your battery while also just relaxing you.
Yeah, probably the best time of the day.
Yeah. Now, the Bilal and the Big Bully, great book. Do you have another book in the works right now?
I do, but it's not actually for myself. I'm ghostwriting a book for someone else.
Wow.
And it does bring diversity into the picture. I probably don't want to give too much away right now, but hopefully one day you'll have that guy on your show.
Absolutely.
So it is a book about diversity and about some of the refugees who have come to this country, so it should be interesting.
Oh, fascinating. That's great. How do you like the process of ghostwriting? Is that something new for you?
It's interesting, yeah, because, on the one hand, I don't get credit for it, but that's okay because I still get to kind of put myself in someone else's shoes and take whatever story they want, kind of taking their requirements and kind of getting into character and putting something together for them, for their needs. So it's interesting. It's a good experience.
Fascinating. Well, we've had a great time speaking to Farhan Khalid, the author of Bilal and the Big Bully, here at Chicago Kids Expo. Thanks, Farhan.
Thanks a lot for having me on. Have a great time.
What a great way to kick off Kids Expo. And we're really excited that Bilal and the Big Bully is going to be one of the first books that we feature on our upcoming Storytime podcast episodes. Be sure to check that out. That's coming up soon. But right now we go back to Kids Expo in Schaumburg, Illinois. We are back at Chicago Kid Expo, and I am speaking with Samantha, and you are here with 3 beautiful young people. They are?
I have a 3-year-old son, a 2-year-old nephew, and a 3-year-old niece.
Keeping you busy here, huh?
Yes, very busy.
Yeah. So tell us about reading. Do you love to read with your kids?
I do love to read. Actually, all 3 of them do. My son had delayed his speech due to hearing issues, so reading was one of our biggest things that we could do for sight words and responding to cues of different commands in school and such.
Yeah. It made a big difference in his life?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What kind of books do they seem to enjoy the most?
He's definitely into the ones that are interactive. So if we could use like puppet ones or ones with numbers and shapes, because it's more so what they're learning in the month of school. I try to do the same thing and emulate those types of stories at home. So it kind of goes with the curriculum to keep him up to par, but kind of, I guess, get ahead a little bit.
Now, I'll be honest, you're the first person that I've spoken with that talked about making that connection between what they're doing in school and carrying it over. Do you have a great relationship with the teachers? Are they keeping you up on that?
Absolutely. So we have an app that we use, and every day that he goes to school, we get updates and pictures, and we get to see what the whole entire month plan is going to be, and she gives us homework assignments. Not that it's mandatory, they're just in preschool.
Right.
However, it's interactive things that we do at home, and we carry it out throughout the week. So something like I Spy with My Little Eye Something Red, we continuously play that game when we're in the car, opposed to giving him a phone or a tablet. We try to do interactive things to get him to actually look around and be aware of his surroundings.
The stuff that I used to do with my kids before they invented all this stuff. Now, beyond, it's obvious that you have a great understanding of how reading and interacting with your kids is helping his development, helping his education. But what other benefits do you think that you're getting from spending this time with your kids?
Besides the quality time, it actually relaxes him, the ease of mind to go to sleep. You can see the calmness when it is reading time. It's like exciting to pick out the book that he wants to read. However, when we actually get to read it, you see he's interested. He asks questions. And he talks about it with family and everything. So he likes to go back and tell Nani and Papa all about what we've done. So they hear all about all the things that we do when it comes to reading. And we go to Barnes & Noble's at least twice a month.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you.
I just love the relationship Samantha has with her kids' teachers. I hope that you're able to have that same great cooperative relationship with your kids' teachers. We are here at Kids Expo in Schaumburg, Illinois, and I have two lovely people in front of me here. Your name is?
Sherry.
Sherry, and your name is?
Anaya.
Nice to meet you guys. Do you guys like reading together?
Yeah.
Yes. What kind of books do you guys like reading together the most?
Dinosaur.
Dinosaurs. I could have guessed that because you picked up The Last Surviving Dinosaur by my friend Stephen Joseph. What kind of books do you love to read with your daughter?
I love to read all kinds of history books, books about heroes that look like her, books about scientists, people who discover things.
Interesting, you said books that look like her. How important is that to you and to your daughter?
It's very important. I think that it's important for kids to be able to engage, books that help them see themselves in a different light than sometimes media portrays them. Mm-hmm. I think it's important for them to see what hope looks like and to see I can do this. I read this book and I could be this princess or I can be this scientist or whatever it is that they connect with.
That's a great point. Athletes, performers, they all practice visualization before they go out and play or compete or perform. Mm-hmm. And growing up, it's kind of, we're preparing to be adults, and visualizing yourself in all sorts of roles through books is great practice for kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So how often do you guys read together?
So we do at least 5 times a week in the mornings before we go to school. We start out with we're faith people of faith, so we always read a scripture, their favorite scripture, or a chapter of the Bible together. And then in the evenings around dinner time, sometimes I'll read to her while she's eating her favorite snack or meal, or just to keep them engaged,
That's great.
So, yeah, we do a lot of reading in the kitchen. It's pretty interesting.
And how valuable is reading to instill those values, those faith values that are important to you?
It is very important because it gives them a sense of I have an identity. I don't have to just conform to what everyone else is doing. I think that peer pressure is something that we've all struggled with. So when the kids have a confidence and sort of values and morals and things to live by, it helps them make better decisions versus only knowing what their friends tell them because that's all the friends know or anything. They should have their own ideas and beliefs.
Yeah. Now, do you think every family should read together?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you say, hey, families, read together every day?
Hey, family, let's read together every day.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem. Thank you so much for having us.
How cute was Anaya? That's one of the things I love about doing these live events. It gives me the chance to meet so many families and so many great kids. And I also get a chance to meet new authors like our next guest, Jeremy Wise. We are here at Chicago Kids Expo, and I ran into an author, and his name is Jeremy Wise. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Excellent. We're having a great time here at Kids Expo. You have your 2 sons here. I wanted to ask you, how much do you love reading with your kids?
I really do. It opens up so many avenues of imagination and really helps them learn and grow.
The time that you spend with your kids, you're absolutely right. I think it just empowers kids. It lets them know that you think that they're so special that you give them your time.
I totally agree. And the thing is, they can relate to a lot of the stories that they're listening to, and it brings them into another world almost of creativity and imagination.
Now, do they have any favorite books yet?
They're big fans of Dr. Seuss.
The classic, the master.
He really is.
Yeah.
He makes things fun. He makes things fun, and he creates so well, both visually and with words.
Yeah, I tell the people here in the show a lot. I have a bit of a speech impediment, especially when I'm tired, especially when I'm trying to say words that begin with F. And so my kids, anytime I was tired or maybe they were a little bit annoyed with me, they would want me to read Fox and Socks. And that would just beat me. It would have been better if they took a hammer and hit me in the head with it.
I find it a challenge. In fact, that's one of my favorites to read because you almost challenge yourself to read it faster and faster, and it gets more silly as it goes on.
Absolutely. One of the books that we have here with us at the Reading with the Kids booth at the Kids Expo is The Last Surviving Dinosaur, the Tyrannosaurus. And if you think Fox and Socks is tough, this is a great book because kids just laugh listening to you try to pronounce Tyrannosaurus and the sisters, the Cavetosaurus. Now, Jeremy, I mentioned that you are a published author. You don't write kids' books, you write books for adults, but tell us a little bit about your latest book.
The name of the book is Emerge. It's basically a book about having hope and inspiration and overcoming adversity.
Is this based on something that you experienced?
It's based on all life experiences. We all go through adversity throughout life, and my mentality in writing all of my poetry and short stories is taking all the pain and adversity and turning it into something positive and beautiful.
That is beautiful. Well, I want to thank you. We had a great time talking to the author of Emerge.
That's correct.
Jeremy Weiss. Jeremy, thanks so much.
Thank you. My website is jbwisewords.com, and I go by JBWise.
Our next guest is a very fascinating young woman that I just fell in love with. She's incredibly honest and such a great kid, and her family's pretty beautiful too. So I'm here at Kids Expo in Schaumburg, Illinois, and this beautiful family just walked by our booth. What's your name?
Melanie.
Melanie, introduce us to the other folks with you today.
That's my mom and my brother and my sisters.
And sisters, huh? Yeah. Now tell me, Melody, do you guys like reading together?
Well, my mom reads my brother a book to bed every day.
Yeah? Do you remember her reading to you when you were younger?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of, yeah? Do you remember that was a fun thing, something that you look forward to?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you like to read books now?
No.
No? What do you like to do now?
Go on my phone.
Go on your phone. What kind of stuff do you do at your phone? What's your favorite app?
TikTok.
TikTok. I'm almost 100. I can barely use this thing that I have. What's TikTok, and why do you like it so much?
TikTok is an app with like cuts of sounds that people make videos to.
Uh-huh.
I don't really know why I like it. It's just, I don't know.
Well, Mom, you read to your son and your little ones every night. Why? It takes a lot of time. You have 5 kids. That takes a lot of energy. Why do you always make sure that you spend time reading?
It's routine. I think it's good for them to hear all the words and learn different things.
Yeah, excellent. And now, do you ever make TikTok videos with your daughter?
Actually, yes. She likes to just stick us in them.
And that starts when you read with your kids. When you read with your kids every day, when they grow up and they start doing things like TikTok and other stuff, they want to conclude it and make that a family activity. So, your mom started that all when she was reading to you when you were a little kid.
Your fault, I'm addicted now.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for being on the show. Like I said, I really fell in love with Melanie. She was a great kid, beautiful smile, and so very, very honest. Melanie and I continued our discussion afterwards off air. And, Melanie reminded me of something. As our kids progress in school, reading, which was so much fun, and it was fun, and it was done because it was fun, it becomes a chore. It becomes an assignment. So I think it's really important for us to remember to try to make reading fun. Encourage our kids not only to do the work that they're supposed to do, but to find reading, to find stories, to find books that they are really going to find fun. And one of the things that can make reading more fun and more meaningful for kids of all ages is reading together with kids, or co-reading with our kids, and then talking about it with our kids. Speaking of fun, we have an interview right now with a teacher who sounds like she makes learning fun for every single one of her students. All right, we are here at Chicago Kids Expo, and I ran into a teacher. Hey, what's your name?
Diana Kester.
Diana, and you were telling me you love to read with your kids, and that you're also a teacher. What grade do you teach?
I teach 4th grade. It's a bilingual class.
A 4th grade bilingual class. Cool. And what are the languages?
Spanish and English.
Spanish and English?
Yeah.
Why do you love reading aloud with kids so much?
Well, if they read it to themselves, it doesn't give them the picture, the feeling that they would have when somebody reads it out loud to them. So like you as an adult or you as a more fluent reader could probably make the voices that the kids like to hear and make it more interesting. So my students love it when I read out loud to them because I do the voices, I change the tone of the voice, I try to kind of bring the drama into the reading so that they get the whole picture, they get the understanding of the setting and what the tone of the story is supposed to be at that moment.
Yeah. And so you're 4th graders, and a lot of times parents go, oh, my kid's reading on their own now. Time for me to tap out, let them do it by themselves. You still see a lot of value families continuing to read with their kids when they're 4th, 5th, middle school, high school.
Absolutely. We actually... I've been to a couple of different teacher seminars where it's been promoted that it doesn't matter if your kids are in high school or in middle school, you should continue to read out loud to them. Of course, this is in the classroom setting, but why not in the home setting too?
Absolutely, yeah. And those discussions that I think of. Even if you're a teenager, you have a teenager, and it's like, oh, I feel weird reading out loud to my 17-year-old. There's nothing from stopping you from co-reading. And then sitting down when you're driving to the dance class or soccer practice, shut the radio off, shut off the device, and just talk about what it is you're reading.
Yes. Have a little book club.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I used to love, my daughter would pick books for me to read. And I think it's really empowering for them.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that you're a bilingual teacher.
Yes.
Talk about the power of reading in terms of kids picking up languages.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So with my first daughter, I started talking to her only in Spanish. And then when my mother-in-law started watching her, then she picked up English more quickly. However, now that she's taking a Spanish course, Spanish is coming easier to her. She's picking it up faster. And then my younger daughter can, if I ask her to repeat a word, she fluently says it. And I feel like it's been because I've been reading these... reading books out loud to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. And what do you think that a kid who is just come to the country, doesn't speak English, or wants to start learning how to do Spanish? Do you think there's a value for them just listening, even though if they're not comprehending everything, that sitting down and listening to the language being spoken?
Yeah. Well, okay. So then, theoretically, when you learn a new language, you automatically pick up the social language, and then eventually you'll end up, writing or talking. But because you're listening to it, you internalize it more and you understand faster than when somebody asks you to speak or somebody asks you to write it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So that's social language. That's like learning all the bad words in a language first. Is that what you're talking about?
Not only the bad language, but learning the informal language.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what my wife's family does to me down every time I go to Puerto Rico. I learn a new word and she gets crazy. What book is most popular in your class right now?
Let's see. So at the beginning of the school year, I read, actually with the students, right? Mm-hmm. So they like Dogman. They like those books. They like reading, let's see what else. A lot of graphic novels are pretty in right now. Mm-hmm. They really enjoyed Kate DiCamillo's Tiger Rising. I had to read that in Spanish to them, and then just finished reading another one of her books, The Magician's Elephant.
Oh, cool.
So they like those books. So
Excellent. Yeah, that's awesome. Graphic novels, I wish that I had understood this when my son was in middle school. And I would go and I'd get him the graphic novels and, yes, you want to read this? This is great. But I would come to the room all the time and go, would you please read a book without a picture? And I understand now that reading graphic novels is reading. I also understand when I used to go in there and say that to him, I was kind of discounting what he was reading. And I think that's a probably mistake a lot of knucklehead parents make sometimes. But you, as a teacher, you think graphic novels, cool.
There's going to be different type of readers. Mm-hmm. Not everybody likes the same genre.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that these graphic novels are very good for those visual learners
Mm-hmm.
that may struggle to think about the setting of the book or just what is going on. When they have that picture, it helps them to understand better.
Mm-hmm.
There's a graphic novel called El Defo, and I can't remember the author's name right now, but that one's about someone who has a condition where they can't hear and they have to wear, this is back a couple, 20 years ago when the technology was different,
Mm-hmm.
but when I told the kids about that book and I showed them a couple of pictures, immediately they were engaged, totally interested in that book, because not only were they learning about someone with special needs, but they could understand it better coming from the perspective of a bunny, but the picture was in there,
Right.
So graphic novels, I think, really help. And I think they're written differently now, too. I don't think that they're just comic books, because I think authors are being more purposeful about the plot that they are putting in those books.
Yeah. And just one last question about is what's the value of reading aloud? And encouraging kids to read aloud. Does that help in a different way for kids' comprehension?
It's a very good question. Well, here's the thing. I always encourage my fourth graders to read to the younger siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Rereading there's nothing wrong with rereading a book, and even if it's simple, like just this week coming up, we're going to be, my fourth graders are going to be reading to first graders. They picked out their own books. It could be a book that they've already read, but the point is that when you read something more than once, you'll understand it better.
Mm-hmm.
So practicing out loud, even if it's a book that you've already read, not only makes you a better reader when you read out loud, but it also helps you to pick up on things that you didn't pick up the first time you read it.
Awesome. Now, I know that when this goes on the podcast that you're going to tell all your kids, so I want you to say hi to your fourth graders.
Hi to all the fourth graders in Miss Custer's class at Sunny Hill Elementary.
Some great advice from a great teacher. And we're going to close out our trip to Kids Expo in Chicago with a quick little interview with a dad and his daughter. I'm here at the second day of Kids Expo in Chicago, and I am speaking with Earl and Charlotte. Charlotte, how are you? Can you say hi? Hey, and Earl is Charlotte's dad. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am wonderful. Earl and Charlotte came by the booth, and they're hanging out. And I have to tell you, I give you A for your reading skills. Because you were really, I saw you picked up a couple of our books here, and you were really engaging, talking with Charlotte about what she's seeing in the pictures. Is that something that just came naturally to you?
Well, I don't know if it's naturally, but that's what we do at home, where we read books and we look at pictures and describe what's going on. And then Charlotte sometimes tells us what's going on in the stories, too. So, yeah, that's kind of what we do.
Do you feel that's empowering for her to ask her what she's thinking, what she thinks is going on?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. We love getting her brain to work.
That's great. And how old is Charlotte?
She's a little... Oh, how old are you? Okay, you're going to be shy. You're a little over 3.
A little over 3. And is there a favorite book that Charlotte likes to read over and over and over again?
What's your favorite book? Is it the one with the fancy dresses? Yeah.
Cool.
And the fancy hats? Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited because one of the books that caught Earl's eye is my book called Love That You Matter to Me, and I am going to let Earl and Charlotte take it home so they can enjoy it in their house. Thank you so much for being on the show, Charlotte. And thank you, Earl.
Thank you.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be author-illustrator Pam C. Rice. She's returning to the show to tell us all about Dana's Purple Discovery. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We had such an amazing time out at Kids Expo. We want to thank everybody who made this special episode of the podcast so very, very wonderful and made it possible. Of course, we want to thank our sponsor, Vooks. If you are a teacher or a homeschooling parent, you definitely want to go to Vooks.com, VOOKS.com, and sign up for their free 1-year subscription. Free 1-year subscription to this service. If you are a parent or a caregiver, if you're a grandparent, you want to check this out. What a beautiful gift this would be for any family to receive. Check it out, Vooks.com. Want to thank most of all the folks at Kids Expo Chicago. Family Time Magazine puts it all together. Carolyn and her crew, they were absolutely wonderful. Want to thank just everybody who was part of this amazing event. Want to thank especially the folks at the Holiday Inn North in Schaumburg, Illinois. It's a new property, and the people there were amazing. They just bent over backwards to make my wife and I feel so very, very comfortable. So we want to thank them. I want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan, for all that she does for the show. I want to thank my aforementioned beautiful wife for joining me at Kids Expo. I also want to thank her for all the support she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for having my back here in the studio. And most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.